How's it, everyone? Wayne known here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I'm joined here by Green Brown Girl and Imogen, who have been on this channel previously, but this is the first time you actually get to see their faces. Because back in the day, we were doing this. This is back when we were still recording through Discord.
Oh
But
man.
thanks to the wonders of technology and webcams, you get to see these people. And of course, you've also probably
Yay.
seen them previously as well. This is Imogen's first time for a podcast panel because you remember they're for Get to Know That Cosplayer podcast. And you also, this is Green, this is Emerald, this is your second time or third time?
I think this is my second time because you did Get to Know That Cosplayer, and then I was on a panel before. I think this is only my second panel,
I
second or third,
I think it was either the plus size
because
one
I was in the
or
original Discord group, but my Discord
yeah,
didn't want to cooperate most of the time.
Oh no.
yeah, no, it didn't.
Yeah,
But we are
that's
going to be
that's
talking.
why I offered to help you in the text because I had to
Oh,
like learn how to do all of it because my
oh yeah.
uh, original computer that I had didn't want to do any of it
Oh
on the
gosh.
first
So
try.
we are going to be talking about and changing the name from post convention depression to post con blues, where they're how you feel after a con, before a con crud, which everyone I know does feel. Stuff like that. Gonna have them share their experiences, give advice, and this is gonna be real long because after Imogen and Emerald, I am gonna be bringing on some more guests shortly after. And this is also to help. I also got to thank some buddies of mine at from the band Bathroom of the Future for suggesting the idea to help also promote their song that just recently came out called Post Convention Depression. So shout out to Bathroom of the Future. Um, so I will start with you, Imogen. When it comes to post convention blues, con crud, stuff like that, what comes to mind?
Post convention blues for me is more like that drive home right after you finish a convention. You're coming down from the high of just the entire fun weekend, and then it all hits you that it has ended and that you have to go back to reality, which means there's a long chore list of things to do, and then finding other ways to occupy your time as you dwell on what
You
had
got to
just
be an
happened.
adult, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Adult life isn't fun.
And that's basically like how you like basically feel after a convention. It's just like you just gotta go back to that life and everything.
Back to mundane reality where everything is literally the same every day and I don't get to wake up and be like, what's today gonna be like? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna see someone running down the street in a dinosaur outfit? Like
Why is that person outside my hotel in a Riptar cosplay?
I mean or why are my friends sticking me in a dinosaur outfit? Because this has happened.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
It was a great time. But yeah, it's just those memories and then you're coming down from the high because you basically really are on a high just from the not just the experiences, but the amount of caffeine you drink to stay awake the whole weekend. But coming down from all that, you kind of hit this point where you're falling back into this normal rhythm that you're used to versus the rhythm that was chaotic and crazy. And like you don't have your friends, you can't aren't waking up in the morning to blaring music and shoving makeup on your faces and wigs flying across the room and it's the reality of it. And now you're basically just laying in your bed going, "Oh yeah, I got to unpack everything."
I gotta say, you paint a really beautiful, very vivid visual picture in my brain when you said that.
Oh,
No.
I've
I'm
definitely been
sure.
through that myself as well.
Yeah,
Wait, um,
just the
Emerald, same.
memory.
Now, I'm gonna ask Emerald the same question before I go back to you. Emerald, um, so when it comes to what comes to mind when you think of post con blues, con crud, stuff like that?
Well, I definitely agree with Imogen that there's definitely like a crash out like kind of like when you have a sugar rush like you have the sugar high and then you have the sugar fall.
Ooh.
And but for me,
Been there,
because
been there after a can of an energy drink at work.
yeah. But for me, because I also have some mental health issues myself. It's more like a lot of little highs and lows rather than one big high and one big low. Uh, unless like uh, I had a particularly good time, and then like for example, in KomoriCon, or I mean not KomoriCon, MomoCon of 20, I think it was February of 2019. I had just like the most fantastic time, but like right as I was leaving, a snowstorm hit, and so I like had to escape Salem to get home to Eugene. So that was like kind of terrifying, and it like kind of changed my perspective of the convention itself, because I was like, I feel like it seems more spectacular in retrospect, because like I almost wasn't able to get home safely because of the snowstorm. So like there's and also I have a lot of friends, and sometimes I myself also partake in consuming alcohol during the convention, and I have noticed people who talk about post-con depression or post-con blues, a lot of them are also hungover after con. So like that's definitely a part of it for some people. But for
Sounds like
me,
a
like
sad man.
yeah,
Whoa.
for me, a big part of it is also that I'm partially disabled, so I tend to exert a lot of energy during the convention to be as active as possible, and so I need to physically recover from the convention when I get home, and that can sometimes contribute to the negative feelings that I have directly after a convention. And so I have a number of coping mechanisms to help me um, retain my good mood through all of that negativity. I hope I explained that well.
Oh no, you did. Um, so another thing I'll ask, and back to Imogen. Like when you're at now, I imagine like another thing at the con, like when it comes to post con blues and con cred. I imagine there are times like where you've gone to the con, and then once like the con's over, then you realize, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. You could have done a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other things, but you never got the chance to. Would you both consider that being part of the post con blues, not being able to do the things at a con that you wanted to do after it's over?
FOMO,
Realizing, oh, I
yeah.
could have done all these things, but I was busy doing this, and you know.
I could have gone to those 8 panels, but instead I went shopping and overblew my budget. Yep. The dreaded con story. But yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Definitely.
um, back to you, Imogen. When was the first time you actually experienced, the con blues? You didn't know what to do.
Oh, and I didn't know what to do. Probably still in high school at the time, so when I was like 17, 17 or 18, around then. Because like for a long time it would be like everyone I went to were people that I went to high school with, so we could always just chat and like relive everything the minute we got back. So it's like there was always some sort of high. And then around 17, 18 is when some of them started graduating, so I wasn't getting to see them or hang out with them as much. So that high kind of drifted off, and I didn't really have anything that I to talk to, and kind of was more like left to this point where it's like this ritual that had started when I first started going to conventions is now gone, and now I realized I'm by myself when I got back. So yeah, kind of froze, didn't know what to do after that, and then had to just figure it out.
It be like
Mhm.
that. Same question for you, Emerald. When was the first time you like experienced, post con blues and con credit? You didn't really know what to do.
Well, like Imogen mentioned, when you're in high school, especially in my case, because I my high school anime club was directly scouted as staff, and so a lot of us like ended up staffing together. for a couple years, and one year we had all of the freshmen from our club and a bunch of the seniors go as a group to the KimoriCon up in Portland.
This is
So
like
like
when cons
back
were
then
still
it was
like.
really easy to kind of sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I was saying this is like. Oh, sorry, I'm getting an echo on my end. Sorry. Continue.
Okay. So like it was really easy, like Imogen said, it was really easy to just keep that energy going after the con because I was still seeing those same people at school all day every day. But it changed once college and after college came around because I wasn't around the same people all the time. And I would say that I want to say that probably the um, biggest post con depression I had was that mine's kind of unique because I'm a recovering cancer patient. But basically, what happened is I had just gotten home from a big convention, and then in April of the same year, I was diagnosed with cancer. So a bunch of my friends came to see me in the hospital as they were on their way to SakuraCon. And they're like, we'll bring you merchandise and stuff. And so I just like basically got to watch as all my friends went on, like, were sharing like their con pictures on Facebook and stuff while I was stuck in the hospital. And that happened for KimoriCon that year too. And so like that was a really weird experience for me. Um, that was the first time I really felt really intense FOMO because like I physically couldn't attend con. I didn't even dress up for Halloween that year, I think. And so the way that it affected me is that now when I have similar feelings, there I'm like, well, I survived 2019. I think I can get through this. You know what I mean? So I've had to develop ways to deal with it, but I'm also grateful for that experience because like I know that I know that if I miss a convention, even one that's really important to me, it's not the end of the world and I'll be okay. And before that, I kind of like it was really devastating when I wasn't able to go to a
Oh,
convention because I ended up
oh,
not
and
being
we
able to
just got
afford
another.
it or
And we're joined by Wreckaroo Cosplay.
Sorry,
Hey!
hello.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it keeps on like glitching on your. Okay, wait, no, it keeps on. Not yours, Becca. It keeps on glitching on Emerald's screen.
Okay.
oh, that's probably because my Wi-Fi is really slow here. So if stuff gets cut out, it's just my Wi-Fi
it's
slow.
not cutting out. It's just like it keeps on glitching. Like it keeps on showing Imogen's screen on your webcam. That's weird.
Hmm, interesting.
Okay, so you may
It's
see
not
the
doing that
start.
on my end. I don't know why it's doing that on yours.
It's doing it on my end. Let me. Oh nope, it keeps on. That's weird. Oh god, I hope that doesn't affect too much. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Oh boy.
It's like merging.
You see it too, right?
No, not on my end.
I see it. I don't know why. That is. Um.
I'm not seeing it either. I don't know.
The most that
All right,
I've
I'm
been
gonna.
seeing is that sometimes people lag for a few minutes, or your screen, Wayne, goes like dark for a minute, like the light changes.
Oh yeah,
But other
because
than that,
I'm
it's
going to
been
another. All right, let me. I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm going to exit out of this, and then I'll be right back.
okay.
Alrighty.
Well,
And we
it's
took over
nice
the
to meet
screen
you,
now.
Becca.
Nice to meet you too.
Becca.
Sorry I'm late. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Now
No,
there's
you're
three.
no worries. You actually came in right as I finished talking, so it
Okay.
actually worked out pretty good.
Oh,
Good.
there we go. Wait, no, it's still. Oh, okay, I just get it. Arg.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like reflecting really bad. Is I don't know why it's doing that. I think if one of you like leaves why is it
Do you want
doing
me to
that?
try turning off my camera and turning it back on?
Yeah, probably see that works.
Okay,
I
just a moment.
apologize. I apologize, everyone. While we're getting that fixed,
Okay, it's
Becca.
off and
Okay,
back on. Did
no,
that work?
it's still, it's still doing it. It's
Is
just
it
doing it
just
for
her
some.
screen?
Yeah, it's just her
Oh,
screen.
okay.
Oh wait, no, wait, what? Wait. All right, it's gone. No, it's back. Oh, you may
Okay,
have
well,
to,
I
you may
only
have to
messed
turn off
with
your,
it once, so I'm not
you may have to
sure.
turn off your, you may have to turn off your webcam. Sadly,
Okay, well, I'll turn it off for the rest of the video and see if that works. As
yeah,
long as you guys
it's
can still hear me, I'm okay.
we can still hear you. I'll just if you wanna, if you have like a cosplay photo, I can add that in. I can add that in post. Sorry, it's just it's like
Oh,
it's
that's fine.
bothering. The glitching is bothering my eye. It's just
It's
it's
fine.
a sensory. It's just a sensory
I'll
thing.
I'll send it to you over Instagram. How about that?
Sounds good. Now that Becca's here, um, what comes to mind? Because I'm changing this from post-convention depression to post-convention blues. Um, so what comes to mind when you think of post-convention blues?
Oh, um, gosh, lots of things. I think the first thing is like isolation. Like right afterwards, you like go from being around so many people and so much sensory input and so much going on. And then you get home and like even like my house is really busy. Obviously, I have like a whole zoo here, but it's still like so different that I come back and I'm like, oh, like I feel so small and isolated, and it's like, so I think the first word for me is like isolation. It's like immediately afterwards, you're like, everyone's gone. It sucks.
That is, I imagine that's never fun.
No.
What was the other? I forgot what the. Oh wait, well I can't remember the one question, but I'll ask the other one. Um, when was the first time you ever experienced the post-con blues? Personally.
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, 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 oh gosh, I don't know. I think the like worst one though was I mean at least for me was after SAC Anime because there was like so much travel involved. Like I went to
Oh,
Sacramento
Sac Anime is busy. Just the town
and
itself
it's
is
so
busy.
busy and I like got to meet, people of my dreams. So it was like just like this whirlwind of excitement and anxiety, and just, and then immediately, and then coming home, even just getting off the plane, getting back to Portland, the drive back home, I'm like, oh God.
Oh, those travel as I call them, the travel cons can do that to you. And
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm sure
say.
you all can agree. I'm sure you all can agree here that travel cons take a
Oh,
lot out of
definitely. Yeah.
you, not just like
Yeah.
physically, but emotionally too.
Yeah. I think it also depends too also how you're traveling and how many people you're traveling with too. At least I know for me it does.
What about you, Emerald? Has it ever like have you been emotionally and physically exhausted after traveling to a con far away?
Oh, yes, for sure. Um, it's a little bit different for me because the farthest I've ever traveled is Seattle for a convention. Um, and despite being out of the country, ironically, traveling to another state for some reason tired me out more. But I think that's just because like, different circumstances. Um, but it's I the last time I went to a faraway convention, I just slept for 2 days after I got home because I was just so tired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It can, I mean, that's a good example of con crud. Starting with you, Becca, what's a good example for you for con crud?
Oh gosh. Actually after Emerald City, surprisingly, like I was down for like 2 or 3 days.
I remember
Just
you telling me about that afterwards.
And it was like, I mean, it was great. I had a wonderful time and it was exciting, but it was like, I had been to a couple other like bigger cons like right before that, and I had bigger ones planned right after that. So it didn't seem like it should have affected me as much, but I was just like I had to work from home those days. I didn't even walk the 3 houses to work. Like I was just down. It was is unexpected, I guess, is why it was probably the worst one. It just caught me way off guard. And yeah, it was like 3 full days. I was like, I don't think I'm sick, but holy crap, all I'm doing is sleeping and like eating smoothies. Like that was it.
I remember you telling me that in the ECC, pot. Were you part of the ECC? Yeah, you were. Because yeah, you and Bob were both working that con as well. Emerald, what's a good example for you when it comes to post-con crud, aside from post-con
Post-con,
blues?
like post-con sickness.
Post-con crud, where it's basically how you feel physically after a
Oh,
con
okay.
compared to how you feel emotionally after a con.
Well, most years I've been pretty lucky where I didn't really get sick, but um there there was a year, I think it was 20, I want to say it was 2017 or 2018, where it just rained the entire weekend um of con. And if it hadn't been for my friends preparing a humidifier and lots of chicken noodle soup during con, I would have had the worst, like the worst cold possible. But luckily, my friends were a little bit more prepared for that weather than I was. And so I ended up only having the sniffles for a couple of days. But other people were like, it was before COVID, but people were having like really intense flu symptoms because of how wet and awful the weather had been that year.
I know a lot of people had. I know a lot. I had a lot of people had the con crud right when COVID was going on and people and cons were being staying open.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, but I would say that the kind of con crud you have during a pandemic is more related to the virus itself. Whereas
Compared to like
when I think of con crud, I think of people who, like, for example, I talked to you earlier about how sometimes people tend to drink a lot when they're in con, like during con weekend, not necessarily in con space because that's usually not allowed, but
day zero,
like
everyone goes out and parties.
yeah, or like
Yeah.
at night when they're back at their
You all can
hotel.
relate.
Um, well, in those situations, what happens a lot is that people tend to like way overdo it, and then um, they have to recover afterwards. And I've noticed a lot of people um have that problem. When you don't also, people tend not to eat very healthy during the convention.
Yes.
And I feel like that is another big factor that
Ooh,
people tend to like make people really sick after a
you're gonna
convention
start
is
feeling. You're gonna start
not
feeling
eating
like
right.
shit too.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing I've changed at conventions is how I'm eating.
Eat and drink water, and as I've always said on this channel, and many people have also said it, energy drinks do not count as a source, fat.
Yeah, no caffeine.
Okay,
Caffeine doesn't count.
I sent you a picture of my rose quartz from
Ooh. Okay, I
that
remember
year
that one.
where
We
it
did talk
rained, the
about that.
2018. Uh, the that was the this was the year before I got cancer, and it's one of the cosplays that I built from the ground up.
I
So
remember
I'm
you
really
showing me
proud of
that
it.
one.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, now I remember Rebecca. The question I was gonna ask because I asked Imogen and Emerald. I imagine there have been times where you've gone to the con, like, and there are things you weren't able to do, and then when you got home, it's like, man, I wish I would have gone to that panel. I wish I would have got this. I wish I would have met this actor. I imagine there you've
Every
you've
time.
experienced those.
Every
I
single
think
con.
I think it was like what SAC and was it SAC
All of
Anime
them.
or all of them?
So Stack Anime, I went to my first panel ever, which was the Avatar reunion.
I saw
Uh,
your mask. By the
Stack,
way, you almost got it all finished. You almost got it all finished with autographs.
yes, my mask. I'm very excited about it. But that's the only, and I'm so thankful that I made it to that one. I'm so thankful. That was an important one to make it to. But yeah, I I always miss them. I swear. I just want to go to all of them. Especially the cosplaying ones. Those are it's tough because I volunteer with the guild and a lot of times the panels I really want to go to are like I'm volunteering to cover the booth because those people are putting on the panel. And so I'm like I get to miss that. Um but yeah, I just there's so many of them literally every time because it's just there's so I don't know. I'm pretty engrossed in nerd culture. There's not a branch of it that I don't at least dabble in. And so, like, all of the panels and guest speakers sound so exciting to me. I want it all.
Now, because Chris kind of brought it up, um, when they were still on. He kind of brought up a question that brought up something I actually do want to ask. Um, so like, what does it feel like? You had just gotten done with this one con, all you're feeling all this emotion and everything. What does it feel like when it comes to the next con? Like, what kind of emotions and everything are you feeling? Starting with Imogen.
Going from one con into the next one.
Yeah, especially
Oh,
knowing that even if it's like, even though it's like ways away, it feels like it's getting close.
well, I know. Okay, find a way to put this. So the midway point from one con to another. At this point, I've gone through my entire, 7 stages of acceptance, and so it really is. And so I'm just kind of now at the okay, now it's the planning stage. What am I bringing? What do I want to do? Is there any guests I want to meet? And so it's like the entire checklist. And then it's like, okay, what are things I want to prioritize? And then if I'm going other people, it's okay, is there anything you guys specifically need me for? And it was just like this entire thing leading up to it. I feel like more stressful going into it than it is going out of it.
Well, yeah, because in your brain, in reality, it's far away, but in your brain's like, oh
Yep.
my god, I gotta make these cosplays. Who's gonna
Oh,
be there? What am I gonna do?
yeah.
Will I actually do the things what I want to do? Will I buy the thing I want to buy?
Am I going to actually start my cosplay in time or not 2 weeks before the convention?
And also, I'm sure people can agree that fear of will this con actually still go on, or are they gonna cancel it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or are they going to change bylaws like the week before?
Right.
Oh,
Mhm.
Oh man, that was crazy.
they did
Yeah.
that for Kumo like a month
Mhm.
a month before Kumo. I saw the new guy. No disrespect to Kumo.
Yeah.
It was mentioned on when we did the recap for the Kumoricon recap, but I know, and it wasn't the con's fault. It was the venue saying, "Hey, these are the guidelines. You need to, I don't put any blame on the con. It's just that when they find out, then the rest of us will find out."
I think with KomoriCon, it's important to remember that they're like one of the biggest anime conventions in the state. And so when something bad happens, even if it has nothing to do with the staff's personal decision making, they kind of become the example of that everybody has of that bad thing happening that kind of like sticks in everybody's mind. Kind of
Right.
like when a really popular celebrity makes a really public mistake, it ends up being a lot bigger deal than when a less popular celebrity makes the same mistake, even if the actual mistake is the same amount of bad, like materially, like like people are gonna care a lot more about like Janet Jackson having a nip slip than they are about some random influencer, right?
Well, I mean, we're not gonna
Well,
say any names, but
it's
no,
this,
I get where you're getting at though.
I don't think that maybe it's just because I feel partial to them because they were my first convention, but I feel like a lot of the time, bigger conventions like KomoriCon and SakuraCon, like their mistakes, no matter how minor, cause a lot of outrage. But like if a small con made the same mistake, either we wouldn't hear about it because not enough people care to make a big deal about it, or that small con would get like would just lose a bunch of um would just lose a bunch of attendees, and that would probably be the end of it.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of any big scandals for that would
Hey,
like, for
that
example, there was with that change in that minor change in guidelines, like that people were upset about that for weeks, but at a smaller con they would just be like, oh yeah, okay, the venue made you do it, whatever.
No, I get
I
it.
guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I get it. Again, I do want to give a shout out to Chris for coming up with the talk about like the stuff you feel and need to get done before the next con. Speaking of, have you experienced any of that stuff? Like your thoughts on what it's like having to be ready for that next convention once you're done with that prior convention?
Are you asking me or are you asking the others?
Asking you, Emerald. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I feel like sometimes I speak over people on accident, and so I just want to double check that I wasn't. Um, for me, uh, I have a hard time. Uh, I need like some downtime between conventions, emotionally. So it's actually a good thing to take breaks. But I also have the opposite problem of having post-con depression. So for me, I have to find a little bit of a balance of like, okay, that con is over, like, and now I need to like take a small breather, and then I start looking at what I want to do. But sometimes while I'm at the convention, I have ideas for next year. So it's not like a always one way or another. I kind of have, it's because I've been doing this for such a long time. I don't have like just one set way of managing my post-con feelings.
I get it.
Or just one way of preparing for the next event.
I gotta commend those cosplayers who can, you know, post on Instagram and Facebook how they just got done with one con, then like literally a week or 2 weeks later, they're at another convention. It's like if you have the energy to do that, go from one convention literally right after the next, kudos to you. But I agree with you. If you can't do that, like you want to go to the con, but if you're not feeling it, don't force yourself to go. Take a break. Take a mental health day to yourself. I'm
That's
It
sure
why
y'all
also,
can.
Rose City and Emerald City were like 2 weeks apart this year.
Oh yeah.
Or not
Yeah.
yeah, it was just like boom, boom.
I know, I'm trying to figure out. I want to do both PAX and Rose City this year, and they're only a couple weeks apart. So I'm like, this is gonna suck.
And I'm sure you all can agree that you want to go to this con that's literally a week or 2 weeks away, but then you're like, if you're not, and I'm sure you all can agree. I'm not fully familiar. I can't really have any say on the post con blues because I don't do a whole lot of conventions. So I'm more here just hosting and then editing, and you're giving all your experience, but I'm sure you all can agree that don't force yourself to go to a convention that's literally weeks away if you're not feeling up to it. I'm sure y'all can agree, right? Or
Yeah. Or at
different
least
opinion.
prioritize. Like I used to think I had to go to every single day of these cons, and like you just don't, even if the day of you're like, I just don't feel like I'm gonna go today, but I'm gonna focus on, the things I want to do tomorrow, like pick
yeah.
one day if you're starting to feel down. But And even then, if you're like, never mind, then just don't go. But I
No, I
felt so
mean,
obligated to do like more than one day, to do the whole weekend, very, very gung ho about it all. And then I was like, whoo, this is real tiring.
Yeah.
I feel like
And oh, sorry, I
you
was
don't
gonna
think
say
it.
like, oh, go for it.
Sorry, sorry, Imogen. Go ahead. I'm
I
getting
was
ahead
gonna
of
feed
myself.
off of her thing with like instead of like every day. I know for me, like I've had some days like I'm there for like one or two things, and then at this point, I'm just kind of done with the day. It's like it's okay at that point to like
Yeah.
go and leave the convention just for even just going for half the day and going, and it's like sometimes you just need the rest of the day just to come down for things or pull body paint off yourself. So
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very
That's
much
a really
so
great
that.
point. That's why I'm
Um,
really glad that we have stuff like away those quote unquote away from con rooms, like a quiet place to like take a breather for people who need them. I think that was such a inspired idea. I'm so glad that people have that now because I remember back in like 2007, 2008, like a con was like a what do you call it? A sensory overload for me the first couple years that I was going, and I really like I had to like leave and go to like the park, not even the park by con, but like a park a couple blocks away to kind of like reset and like come back. So I'm glad that now we've got places like the manga library and away from con that are like quiet and more chill, places in the convention space where you can still kind of like separate yourself and take a break. I'm glad that those things exist now.
oh no, I'm glad to see places like that exist. And again, I'm sure you all can agree that you don't have to feel obligated to go to that next con after you're done with that one con. Like take a break, take a con break. Don't go to convention. Just take time to yourself because I feel like, and again, this is just my opinion. Anyone's allowed to have their own opinion on this. But I feel like if you're going to one con and then this next con is like days or weeks away, I feel like if someone like me was to do that, I would feel very tired after that second con. It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna cancel my con year. That took a lot out of me. Again, I commend cosplayers like who have the sheer willpower just to do a con after a con after a con. Like, good God, how are you like? I I would like to know how they do it because I know sure so I know I couldn't do it. I know Becca, you went to I think you went to what con last year and then you were going to ECC again this year and then you had Fan Expo.
Fan Expo. I said RCC earlier and I meant Fan Expo. Yes. It's been it's been wild. It's been a lot. Well, and again, I started off the year in Sacramento with Sac Anime, and then it was just a few weeks
Oh,
later.
Sac Anime Winter.
Yeah. So
And then
I
just a few
went
months you
from
had
that to Fan Expo to Emerald City, and then I was gonna do Game Storm this weekend, and I just couldn't.
oh I mean not to mention also last year you went to ECC last year, right?
Yes.
So you had
Yeah, in
ECC.
in August, which was just it doesn't feel like last year so much. It was just right then. Yeah, it's been
October,
boom, boom,
November,
boom.
December, January. 5 months after that, you had, and then a few months. Jeez.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
it was
I don't blame you for taking a break from the Game Con this year.
yeah. I was Emerald City, Rose City, um, 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 the one in Medford, Annie Medford was in October. And then I sat out KumuraCon because of all the issues that were taking place and such, just personally. And then December happened, which I went to the little Geek Craft Expo one, which I always dress up for and cosplay for. And then I started the year January with SAC Anime, and then February Fan Expo, and so, and then, so
Right.
yeah, I'm not doing Game Storm. I'm also not gonna do SakuraCon, which I'm a little upset about. But I'm also kind of sort of planning something big. I might be showing up at one of Canada's Comic Cons soon. So at the end of
Ooh.
April, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I know there's Fan Expo up in Canada. There's also one called FrostCon, is from what I heard, in Ontario.
I'm trying to remember which one it is. I'm visiting, like I want to go visit my friend, and he suggested it. He was like, we could just meet at Comic-Con. He's been my online friend for years and years, and I'm like getting my passport to go see him, and I'm like, yes, let's meet at Comic-Con.
See, there's like I feel like there's like yeah, there's a downside with the proposed con blues, but then you also got to look. Hey, I know I can't. I know I'm like this and that, but then you look at it's like, hey, I get to go to this con and meet these people that So there is. I'm sure you're going to agree. There's an upside to the post con blues.
Oh, there always is.
The things to look forward to.
Yep, yep. I was gonna say it's really hard to see them when you're in those blues, but they're always there. They're always there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, did you guys want to move on to talking about our personal coping mechanisms, like
Yes.
how we each deal with
Yes.
coping with con blues and stuff?
Yes. Starting with Emerald, what are your coping mechanisms?
Well, I have a few. A big one for me is this is why I take so many pictures at each convention that I go to, is because then I feel like I'm still connected to those people that I met. I still have those memories to look back on when I'm feeling sad or just in the, in the sunken place about um like with FOMO or whatever. Another thing that really helped me when I was starting my recovery journey from cancer was do like putting on a costume that like from my closet and making videos on TikTok. I don't have that account anymore, but for the longest time, using TikTok really helped me
Excuse me.
kind of get back to a place of what felt like normalcy. With like, I was like, okay, I can wear a costume for a couple hours and make a few TikTok videos. And now my next thing is trying to wear the costume for a whole day. And, and I would take pictures and videos to like prove that I had, managed to do the whole day. Or, managed to walk all the way around the street or whatever, like my neighborhood. And so like I would just like find little things, little goals to progress on. And eventually I was able to go to a convention. I think it was either 2021 or 2020. I started coming back to anime conventions in costume. And I've just been, working on getting stronger and not needing the wheelchair as often, and like kind of accepting how different my body is after recovering, and allowing myself to cosplay characters that I don't have to buy the costume off of a rack um, in order to accommodate for how different my body is, and for the times that I do need a wheelchair, like I look good whether I'm standing up or sitting down. So like it's been different, but it hasn't been bad because I've allowed myself to experiment with cosplays in different ways than I would have before when I was still able-bodied and healthy enough to go to a con every couple of months.
Some good coping mechanisms. Imogen, same question. What are some of your coping mechanisms for post-con blues?
My coping mechanism. Oh, you good?
Yeah, sorry.
Don't
No,
die on us!
you're good. I just want to make sure you're
Don't
good.
you die on us now!
So my coping mechanisms with the post-con blues, my go-tos usually are either throwing myself right back into work, working on cosplays like the minute I get back, or I guess like taking my time, methodically putting things away as I came back. One of my new favorite ways to cope that I started with some friends is a post-con dinner, the last day of con or even the day
Oh, I've
after, where
seen
we
you do that.
basically
I
all
saw you do that. I saw you do that for EC. I saw you do that for ECC.
I did that for ECC, mostly with my mom. But like there was one I actually remember we're at a small convention down in Salem, and it was like me and a bunch of people I'd never even met before, and like a couple of my other friends I literally just got kidnapped and drug with, and we all ended up at Sherry's. Like I think there was about 15 of us at Sherry, and we were just all talking about the convention.
Insert that one scene for Me Girls. Come on, bitch, we're going shopping.
Basically, that's how it felt. Like
But
get
instead, it's
in.
like, come on, bitch, we're going to shit. We're going to get food.
Like half of us are in cosplay, some of us are half in cosplay, and some of us are in full cosplay. Like there was somebody who just didn't have their wig on, but everything else, and it was great.
Why is Cloud eating waffles? Why is Barry why is that Goku cosplayer drinking a
Yep,
strawberry daiquiri?
exactly. But like
We had some humor on this channel. Some
it is
lighthearted
one of the
humor.
best things. But yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. Like you don't even have to do it like the last day of con. You do it at any point during the convention, and especially if like you're having a friend who's really just not feeling it, and they still want to go to convention, but they just don't want to be around everything else. It's great because you can be like, you know what? Let's just do it a day early. We're all going out to dinner. Get in. We're going.
That
Hop on the
works. I
TriMet.
mean, hey, that works. I know like someone I know there are big cons that do like day zero, and I feel like
Mhm.
day zero is a good way for because like someone like me, I know I'm going to be nervous as a mother effer when I go up to Portland. So
Yep.
like, what's the best thing I can do? What's the one thing I know I can do? I know, drop my luggage off, grab Becca, and go get Denny's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Day zero is always a fun one. Day zero, I like. What do we usually do? We're usually still like
I feel like
styling wigs.
it'll help calm the nerves, especially if you're going
Mhm.
to a con that you've never been, or my case, a city I've never been.
Yep.
I'm like it's months away, but I'm still nervous about going to Portland.
Hey, come forward. We should take you out to that whether like the Undercity little mead wineries place out there.
Weird.
Yep, yep, yeah.
Yes, we should.
Becca has told me about that. Becca has
Day
told me
zero.
about that. Becca has told me about
Sorry.
that many times. I also want to go
Oh.
to the Retro Game Bar PDX
Oops.
because that place is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot
Um.
of fun places. But
Oh
yeah.
no, and I'm sure y'all can agree. Like do something fun to distract yourself before you go to the con.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like even if a con doesn't have a day zero, have your own little mini day zero and go out and do something fun so you can, so those nerves are like so you're like you're not thinking, oh my god, I'm like ah.
Or like, especially if you're in like a new city or someplace you've never been, ask the locals or somebody like, what's a place like to go to? Just like,
That's
what
why I
is
have
like
people.
the best thing?
That's why I
Yeah,
have friends. That's why I
and
like
just go.
have friends. That's why I have friends like you who live up further up there. So it's like at least I know when I like I can say that I at least I know people in different states. That like if I go to those states for cons, like hey, do you want to be my personal tour guide? Because I don't know where the hell I'm at.
Get in. We're going.
uh, oh man. Becca, what are some of your coping mechanisms when it comes to this stuff?
Pretty similar actually. I also started taking a lot of photos. I actually invested in a
Ooh.
Polaroid. I mean, it's not a real
Uh,
Polaroid, it's an Instamax, but it is a Polaroid style
I can
camera.
see I can't wait to see what cosplays you incorporate with that thing though.
Um, I take it with me every time, and I always take a selfie with it with all of my cosplays.
Well,
So I kind of have like this wall.
I've seen your Instagram of your Polaroid pictures.
Yeah, but I also so I walk around the whole time and I take pictures of other people, whether they're in cosplay or not. And I hand them the picture and like they just get so happy. Like I feel like the coping mechanism here is like giving people a memory and like like giving them what I want from the con, you know? Like I want like little impromptu like, oh, I just happened to take this picture of you. Here it is.
Here's your little souvenir.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know, it was a big motivator because I was like, man, like I need more memories. I need to take more pictures. And it motivated me to take more pictures as well as give them out because other people also want those memories. So this
I
is one
I
of my favorite things. I hand out so many photos. People get so excited about it. Like I just love it.
I've seen that. I've seen that been done. Back in 2019 when I went to SAC Anime, I saw people who had the mini things that and would give like here's your oh sweet here's a I don't have it anymore, but I had a picture of a cosplay I did at SAC Anime. It's like, oh, that was nice of them.
Yeah, they're super cool. So I really, again, like pictures, being able to not just rely on my memory, but have the recall right in front of me of the con. And I also like giving that away. But one of my other things, so, and you know this, but I have always done cosplay Wednesdays every single Wednesday.
Hmm. Yep.
And a lot of times it's very low key. Like I just put on a onesie or I wear like, leopard print pants for the day if I'm just not feeling it. But I try really hard every Wednesday to dress up. And most Wednesdays I do go pretty hard. I'll do like the full and
Oh,
just go to work
I've
that way.
seen.
Just go to work that way, drive through the drive-through that way. I don't care. And it's super motivating. It's super I try and keep it low key so I don't get anxious about having to do it, but like I don't know, that's been super helpful for me. I sometimes right after a con I'm like, okay, so on cosplay Wednesday on this week when it comes up, I'm just going to recycle what I wore because it did so well. Like it's like a confidence booster. It's like a memory recall as well. I love cosplay Wednesdays.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've seen pictures and videos of like day before con, like people will get all decked out in casual cosplay and go and get spammered.
Yep, exactly. But another coping skill, which we brought up naturally, was going to places where you can just dress up or that have theme nights. Like I go to so many theme parties just
I swear
randomly
every time on
around
Facebook
this whole city.
I get a message from you saying, "Hey, I'm just like, stop telling me all these places I have to check out."
Yeah. But like so weird, like that is a place where there's always like they really encourage you to cosplay there like every time you're there. A lot of people there are dressed up a lot of times. The waiters are always, dressed like really colorfully and wonderful and like I don't know, it's just like you could cosplay anything you wanted anytime there and they would just adore it and it wouldn't be like weird. It would weird. It would be great. But
Sorry.
so, like places like that and theme parties like that, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what that club is, but they say they're having a pirate night and I am going. Like, I'll just find a reason to go cosplay around the city for whatever. So
Nice.
and it's been actually really nice because I get really socially like awkward and anxious. And like just having like, oh, well, I'm just going to show up in costume anyways and be shy and anxious and awkward. Like, it's been actually really helpful socially and um, like linking that cosplay need for me as well. It's super well rounded as a coping skill.
Oh no, if it works, it works. Now, last but not least, before we end this, starting with you, Emerald, what kind of advice would you like to give for those who may not know what to do when it comes to post-con blues, con crud, stuff like that?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I can say, like, I feel like this is probably universal. I've noticed that I personally feel worse when I don't take care of, like, how I'm eating and stuff. So, like, both right before con and during con, it's really important. It doesn't have to be at night, but you've got to sleep, make time to sleep. You've got to make time to eat and drink. All of those stuff. Like I'm not one to judge about you know intoxicating substances, but it's really important that like you like if you're going to do stuff like that that you also give your body time to rest afterwards and recover. And then I'd say like that cuz that'll help both with how you feel mentally and also how you feel physically. Um, like I've noticed that when I'm tired, I'm always in a worse mood, even when really wonderful things are happening. I can't appreciate them as well when I'm tired or when I haven't eaten enough. The other thing is like what's going to work for you as opposed to con, like when you're upset that you're not at con currently, like that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But I think that a big thing that really works for me personally is just, staying in touch with people. Like let's say that I had a really good chat with somebody at the con because I played a board game with them while we were having some downtime, and I thought that they were just a really fun person. I'll go and add that person on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I'll make sure to reach out to them after con and check in with them and say, "Hey, did you get home okay? And how's your day going?" And like I try to, hold on to the friends that I make at conventions, because that's the one way that I have found 100% will keep me happy after uh like immediately after convention, is still being able to talk to people who I had a good time with during the convention. So whether that's my friends that I specifically went there to see, or new people who I had the pleasure of getting to know during the convention that year. So like half of the people that I'm friends with on Facebook, like I would not probably recognize them out of cosplay.
Oh, wait.
because I met them at con and they were just such wonderful people that I was like, nope, we're buddies now. And I just, make sure to take time to talk to them occasionally or comment on their posts and stuff, and it really gives personally a really big boost emotionally just to connect with people. But if that's not your vibe, other things that work for me is like, trying new experiments, or getting into a new anime series or a new game that I haven't tried yet. Like there's lots of ways that you can do little things to kind of boost your serotonin a little bit. And what works for you might not be something that works for me, but basically just do stuff that makes you happy and helps remind you of other times when you felt good about yourself and good about the world. That's the biggest way that you can kind of battle the low points that come after a high point like con, in my opinion.
That's some pretty good advice. Becca, same question. Advice you would like to give for those who may not know what to do when they experience their first post-con blues.
Oh gosh. I mean, Emerald really nailed it. I would say I would just kind of like capitalize on what they said and say that, gosh, sorry, my dog is like
Oh no,
Your
we
dog's
we
really cute,
we
by the
we
way.
we
all
we
the
always we
serotonin
always.
this whole time.
And
Oh,
I was just like, the pupper.
wait, who's that again?
He's been just this whole time has been like, "Do you need
Wait,
things?" Yes, I
wait,
do.
who's that again?
This
What's his name?
is Archie.
Archie! Oh, he's so
Hi, buddy.
fishy.
He's a
I
good boy.
mean, all that's missing is Rip and Keto.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I would say that social media has been super, super helpful, not just with connecting with people from cons, but even just following new cosplayers, staying connected to the community in that way, joining like forums. Um, those things are pretty helpful for me when I'm like really in the blues and my normal coping strategies aren't working. But I think, yeah, taking care of yourself during those cons is super important because you do get really wrapped up in it. You won't eat well, you won't sleep well, and then you won't feel well. So I think that's really the heart of it, but also just staying in touch with that vein of society, like staying in touch with nerd culture, whether it's Facebook groups, or again following people on Instagram,
or even cosplay contact the channel.
or podcasts such as this one.
Yay.
I think, and that's why, that's why I'm here. I think this is such a great way to bridge that gap and to also provide that type of a resource for people who need to bridge the gap. And yeah, I think that social media has, as much as it is terrible, does work wonders, especially in these types of the post-con blues is really about feeling unstimulated or completely way overstimulated and then pretty lonesome. And social media is a really great resource for that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not a scroll on TikTok type person, but I will just find new people to follow or new videos to watch about, especially areas of cosplay that I'm not great at. That's actually really fun to watch when I'm in the throes of blues. Like, I'm terrible at doing makeup, so I'm gonna just sit and watch somebody or several people do makeup for a while until I feel like getting up and grabbing a snack or whatever it is. Like, it's I would say it's super connective in these types of situations. So,
Okay. No,
and
I completely agree on that. Oh. Also, pets make for great coping mechanisms as well.
also, yes,
Example, Archie, such a good
art.
boy.
Exhibit art.
Um,
Can I add something
who said
real
what?
quick?
Who? Wait, where? Who?
Emerald, it was me.
Oh, go, go. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to tack on to what Becca was saying. The nice thing about things like cosplay and makeup and stuff is like we tend to see people who are like really amazing at it and think that like we have to be at that standard, but like even that person had a time when they sucked at it. And it's really important to remember that there's no shame in not being perfect right away, and that's why I personally love tutorials, because like you can learn from other people, and it's totally okay to take things at your own pace and get better. And like I would not like I just this year started doing face paint cosplay because I saw my friends doing it and how much fun they had, and that inspired me to try it. So like I would say never be afraid to try something new. Like, it's totally okay to fail a couple times and kind of learn as you go. Like I feel like it's really silly to expect anybody to be perfect, but like please like never feel like you're not allowed to try. That's what I would say. And
Absolutely.
I'm really glad you brought up the makeup thing, because I know a lot of new cosplayers who think that they're not allowed to be like try making a furry headdress or like do an armor build just because they've never done it before. But like actually the people who make these tutorials, they want you to try, they want to share their passion with you. That's why they make those tutorials. So please, like, have at it. It's okay not to get it right away.
Oh, that's some really good sound advice. And last but not least, Imogen. Advice, as you already know what I'm going to ask. Advice for those who um don't know what to do when it comes to coast. I was about to say the old title, the coast pond con blues. God, trust me, that thought comes fast. Don't do it. I don't recommend it.
Thought about it.
Raised in the show,
Um,
words are good wild.
well, post-con blues, I think the biggest thing, like, especially if you're trying to find a way to deal with it on your own and you've never dealt with it before, is figure out, are you somebody who wants the socialization aspect of it, or are you somebody who needs alone time to decompress? Because that's really going to ultimately decide, okay, how are you going to come down from this? I know for me, it's just like I kind of like a little mix of the both, just because like my brain is just like I need overstimulation, then I need understimulation. And so, it's just figuring out what works for you. Figure out if you're somebody who needs to throw yourself back into an environment, whether that's being busy at work, being busy going to the gym, going somewhere where there are people, or somebody who just needs to take that time alone and get sleep for 3 days to handle everything. But I mean, I definitely will say, like, find out what works best for you and what you're really wanting to help yourself cope. And don't be afraid, though, to lean on your friends with it, 'cause especially friends that live close by that you've been to con with or just got back from that con with, because they're going through the same things you are. And sometimes having them around is what's going to help you guys get through it. And then sometimes you end up going, all right, this convention's coming up in 2 months. What can we plan? And yeah, then it just leads to a lot more happy ups.
I
Yeah.
thought again, I can't argue with that. You all, again, before we end this first segment, again, I do want to thank Chris for coming up with the suggestion about, the things the stuff for the next con and stuff like that. Shout out to you, Chris. Yeah, aka aka the Toneberry cosplayer. If you haven't followed him, if you haven't followed him, I highly recommend following him. He goes by Chris Ferguson on Instagram. Well, I want to give him a shout out. He's one of the good guy. Speaking of uh, Emerald, would you like to promote yourself by letting people know where they can find you on social media?
Sure. Right now I don't have TikTok anymore, but I love interacting with people on Instagram. My Instagram is Green Brown Girl. That's why it's listed like that here. Um, and I love making new friends, and I love hanging out with people at uh, con and whatever convention I might be at the time. So please feel free to come up and say hi if you have some time. And also, I want to say it was really nice to chat with both of you and Imogen and Becca. It was really nice to meet you guys. I hope we get to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point about this channel. This channel in general is always bringing people together. As I've said, I just do the hosting, editing, and recording. The guests make the channel, and those are words I live by. Imogen, same question. Would you like to let people know where they can find you on social media in case they want to follow you in your cosplay journey and whatnot?
Oh, sure. You can find me at Imogen_cosplay on Instagram as well as TikTok. I do have plans to get back into TikTok next couple months with some new content.
Ooh,
Hmm.
very nice. And Becca, you already know I've asked you before on the previous ones. Where can people find you to see your cosplay mashups?
You can find me on both Facebook and Instagram as Wreckaroo, which is Rekka as in Wrecking Ball, WRECKAROO. That's me.
Links to all those will be in the description below. I'll most likely be giving probably a minute break before we go on to the next part because right after these guests, I will have some more on to talk about this same subject. And I also, once this whole podcast is over, I will be showing a 30-second uh, clip of Bathroom of the Future song Post Convention Depression, which you can listen to on their Instagram, link in the description below. And also be sure to give them a follow as well. Really great group of guys who I've had the pleasure of having on this channel. Anyway, I will not be saying until next time, thank you for listening and always thank you for watching. That will be in the second part. So I will see you all in the next segment of this podcast.
Have a great weekend, you guys. It was really nice to meet you. I'm gonna
Hey,
leave now.
How's it, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome back to Cosplay Con Talk. This is the second part of this long podcast series segment called Post Con Blues. Jeez, that's a
Hold it. Start over.
This is
Take
part
two.
2 for Post Con Blues. Damn it, I'm not doing another take. Anyway, this is a long this is podcast mainly not only to talk about what it's like having post con blues and the con crud, but also to help out some buddies of mine who just recently did a song called Post Convention Depression. So be sure to listen to a small 30-second clip of that after this is over, and also be sure to give Bathroom of the Future a follow to listen to the full version of the song. So basically, okay, Kat will be here in a few more minutes. So basically, yeah, we're gonna be talking about what it's like having the post-con blues, con crud, how you can cope with it, advice, experiences, stuff like that. We're also joined by a new face here. We are joined by Re_respect, also the second half to the cosplay twin duo with Hayes Hobbies. So welcome to this band of misfits.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, since you're new here, Ree, I'll start with you first. What comes to mind when you think of the post-con blues?
Well, I think of the first thing that comes to my mind is just kind of that down feeling that you have in between conventions. So like you just finish your convention over the weekend and then afterwards it's you don't have much going on. So it's kind of just like, oh, there's not much else for me to do. I feel sad, kind of missing out on that feeling that you get from going to convention and having fun.
And I imagine you've also experienced like after a con, you think to yourself, man, I could have done this at the con. I could have gone to that panel, met this actor, but like you weren't able to. But you try to make sure you make up for it for the next time if you're able to.
Oh yeah, for sure. And a lot of the time too is like you go to the convention and it's a very busy schedule, depending on if it's like a small one or a big one. For the big ones that I go to, I actually like make a Google Doc of all the stuff that I'm gonna do. And it sometimes, doesn't go to plan. So it's
Kind of like
kind
a
of like,
checklist.
yeah, like a checklist. Cause it's like we have like cosplay gatherings, all the panels, who am I gonna wait in line for? And it's kind of like some stuff has to get pushed back because there's only so much time at a convention. So, you get kind of sad, but it's, at least for me, it doesn't stick around. It's like I kind of regret not doing some of those things, but it's like there's always next time. There's always other cons where you can, do similar stuff.
Oh yeah, no, wholeheartedly. Next, Keyshawn, what comes to mind when you think of the post-con blues?
For me, I think having the post-con blues is like it's like when you first go and you're excited and then you get to experience all the fun events that they have for like the first 2 nights. And then by the third day, it's like, I'm just so sad that it's going away. And
Oh
then we
yeah.
have to wait for like another year. But yeah, for me, post-con blues is like you came, you saw, and now you just wait to enjoy it again next year.
Oh yeah, no, especially with those 3-day cons, like you don't realize the con's over until like the very last day, and then you realize, oh wait, I have to go home. Well, this sucks. I'm sure you all you agree you've like had that realization when it's the last day of the con. Like it doesn't hit you until like almost like the last 2 hours when you realize, oh.
I kind of get
Oh.
it sort of like almost like not the opposite feeling, but like you go to like the end, you get to the end of a convention and you're like just so tired. It's like my feet hurt. I've been going nonstop for 3 days. I'm kind of tired. So on that third day, it's like, oh my gosh, that's a relief that it's over. But then the next day is like, oh man, now it's over. Now I feel sad that it's over.
Like, yeah, great. Now I'm done being Clark. I'm done being Superman. I have to go back to being Clark Kent. Shirey, what comes to mind when you think of the post-con blues?
Post-con blues for me are pretty severe because I have to go back to my regular job and I'm like, I just had like a fun 2 to 3 days of being in my hobby and seeing my friends again and really just doing what I love, and then I have to go back to this. That doesn't feel right to me.
No, no, I imagine it has, and I'm sure again, plus not to mention, I know sometimes you even do like volunteer work at cons and I know I'm sure you're kind of sad that you're like, you know, you're not doing the con job, you're doing like your job, and I'm sure,
Oh
that
yeah,
sucks
like
too.
one of my goals in life is pretty much to be working conventions, I told myself after a point, and my husband says, yeah, you're halfway there. You're getting paid by Fan Expo to help them out, but you have to sign up for it. It's like, yeah, and they also don't pay for my flight. So if I go anywhere farther than Portland or Canada, it's a little more difficult.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Bob, same question. What comes to mind when you think of post-con blues?
For me, it's just like going from the excitement and the connectivity of being at the convention around people, seeing friends, making new friends, meeting people, sharing the things I've created and am creating, and then coming home. And unlike the rest of you, I'm on disability and SSI, so I don't have a job. I'm just kind of stuck in my apartment all day. And even though I'm on the autistic spectrum, and isolation is kind of, my home base, I do get lonely for y'all. And so it's like I'm going from this wonderful, colorful, exciting environment back to like drab nothingness of being home. And that's like super depressing. And I already have a major depressive disorder, so
Oh no, having I think having depression with mixed with post-con blues. I'm gonna have to write that on my hand. As I'm sure it's never a never fun combination having both depression and then post-con
no.
blues.
It's nice that I get to come on and do this podcast and see some of you guys, at least virtually. I get some visiting, and I get to be on like some of the social media areas where I can share my cosplay ideas and other stuff. But it's kind of like, it's like I get to go to something exciting, and then I come back to do basically nothing except plan on what I'm going to do at the next convention.
Right. And as I've mentioned before, again with you, Rhea, I'm sure there are times where you've gone to the con and then like after you realized like you weren't able to do the things you wanted to do.
I've had a few of those, uh, especially the two Emerald Cities I've gone to. The first one was because it was in that monstrosity of a building, and it was all spread all over the place, and it was just took too much time to go back and forth among the three buildings that I went into, because besides the two towers of the Arts building, there was also at two hotels, and I never even got to one of them,
Right.
which I wanted to. But and then this one, it was more my own fault because I had ran out of a couple of my medications and couldn't walk around as well the last day and a half or so.
Again, back to your what do you normally do? Like, what comes to mind when you realize that you weren't able to do the stuff at a con?
Mm, I don't get stuck on it too much. But I mainly just think about what am I going to do at the next one, or like what am I going to do? Maybe not like at the next convention, but like say like a specific one like SAC Anime. What am I going to do at the next SAC Anime? Either to change that outcome to make sure that I'm able to do the stuff that I want to do, or to, substitute it with something else, or, is it something that I really 100% want to do above everything else? Because then I'm going to be able to prioritize that.
Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like if you keep yourself distracted for the next con, then you don't have to worry about, oh well, there was this and that I could have done, but like you said, there's always that chance of doing it for the next con or the con afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because every con is different.
Yeah, you have to look at it too, because sometimes, like with certain panels and stuff, you have to think about, is this going to be like a once in a lifetime opportunity? Because
Oh
if
yeah.
it's like one of those, then you're really going to feel upset that you missed that. But
Has there ever been one of those instances where you've missed that once in a lifetime opportunity for a con?
I'm fortunate enough to not have that happen yet, because I at least know for SAC Anime, they tend to bring back some of the same like voice
Oh
actors and
yeah.
stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, maybe it won't happen like within the year, but it's going to happen again eventually.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Keyshawn, same question. Has there ever been like moments from a con where like you wish you could have like done those certain things like the panel, the guests, stuff like that?
Um, I will say the one thing that I wish I did last year was, I think I mentioned before that one of the panels that they had, which was, I can't remember if it was after or somewhere or the next day, but one of the panels at the con at SOC was Zap Brannigan's Love Boat, and they've been doing that for like the last
Wait,
how
Zap
many years?
Brannigan, like from Futurama, Zap Brannigan,
Like not the actual like actor, but like
the
uh,
character.
essentially, yeah. Like it's a group
Such
of
cool.
yeah, it's a panel that's done by a group of people, and one of the guys who dresses up as Zap Brannigan actually I think is in charge of the whole panel.
I love that.
But yeah, each year that I've been going, they've been doing that. And last year, one of the panels that they did, I think the second day, immediately after that one was a basically how to break into voice acting with Steve Bloom.
Ooh.
And looking back now, I wish I stayed.
Oh yeah, you don't like realize, almost to like the last minute when there's like, because there's so much going on at a con. There's like these, you see the things right in front of you, but you don't see the things elsewhere until like you see pictures like, wait, that was there? Well, I wish I would have gone now.
Well, and that's I think about it now because for like the last couple weeks, whenever I went to D&D to hang out with my friends, every now and then I'd chime in doing like voice lines and whatnot from miscellaneous characters from cartoons, video games, etc. And then my friends will just chime in and just freak out that I can do it so well.
Nice. I see that. That's really cool. But yeah, I imagine it's never fun missing that even like Reese said, it may not, it may not be a once in a lifetime thing, but it still kind of sucks if you miss it because again, there's always, for example, at Sac Enemy, there's so much going on. And there are times where I've seen stuff go on, I was like, oh, I want to do that, but then it's like you realize either it's it's too much, it's like it costs money, or it's too packed, and then like you realized, oh, I can't do it now.
Well, and I
Um,
mean, if you can't do it, then you can't do it, you know? No
true.
reason to, don't see any reason to stress yourself out about it. Like, flipping back to me not going to SakuraCon this year, it's like, as the days are closing in, it's like,
It's
I'm
what
just
next?
freaking
It's
out
next.
more and
It's
more.
well, by the time this comes out, this will come out on the first Saturday of April, and it's like what, a week away, 2 weeks away?
So from the first, which is on the Saturday, like by the end of this week, it will literally be the next week.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, next Thursday is when they open the pre-registration where you can go and pick up your badges, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday being Easter weekend is when they'll have it.
Jeez, that's gonna be a busy day. Shiri, same question. Has there been times where you've gone to the con and after it's over, like you wish you could have done the other stuff that you weren't able to do?
Um, I had that happen almost once. I think it was PAX 2017, and this was because we had some poor planning with the Overwatch photo shoot. And I'm like, okay, I'm only going for like one day, no big deal, that kind of thing. And so we're like, okay, where do we go for the photo shoot? So there's two groups of us. One group goes to
You cut out there. You guys can you guys hear her?
No.
No.
Nah, I can't hear.
Shiri, I think you got cut out.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I lost you right after splitting up for photo shoots.
Okay, it's not just me. Hey, Kat.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, F-bomb queen.
Hi, hi. Oh my God, I am so sorry for running so late.
Oh no, you're fine. Shiri had some. We'll wait for her as we wait for her to come back. We'll start with you, Kat. As I do a quick little recap, so what comes to mind? Oh, yeah, okay, she will be back eventually. So Kat, what comes to mind when you think of post-con blues?
Post-con what now?
Post-con blues.
Oh, I thought you said lewds, and I'm like, come again? Um,
It is already
I'm
lewd
like,
enough when
that's
you get around, Cat.
I know. I'm like, I need you to repeat that. Okay. Oh my God. I don't know. I guess just being exhausted, being tired, not really having the energy to get out of bed, missing your friends, missing the good times that you had, and being reminiscent of them. I guess just really coming down off of that high that you had from having such a great weekend. Because for a while afterwards, you're like, oh man, yeah, that was so much fun. I had a great time. I got all these pictures. I saw all my buddies. Oh, look at all these cool people I met, all this merch I got. And after a while, it's like, oh, I guess it's really over now. And that could be really hard to cope with.
I imagine, and as Bob said, when you have also when you when tie the post-con blues with also depression, I imagine it
Mhm.
makes it even worse.
Absolutely. Having honestly any sort of mental illness can make it 10 times worse.
Oh, I wholeheartedly believe it.
Mhm.
And also the second recap question. Has there ever been times where like you've gone to the con and there's all this stuff going on, and then when you're done with the con, you're home and you realize, oh wait, there was all these other things I could have done. Has there ever been any of those kind of moments where you're like, I wish I could have done that, but I didn't?
Are you asking me
Yeah,
specifically?
yes. Asking you specifically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I've totally felt that. And sometimes it's been circumstantial. Um, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have done that thing, but I wasn't able to because of X, Y, or Z. And that's been really frustrating. And so I'm kind of mourning the loss of that. And that can be really, really hard. And other times, just other things got in the way or other things happened that made me unable to do that. And coping with that can be difficult at times. And it's so easy to be like, oh my God, that's such a first world problem. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is, but it, you shouldn't invalidate that feeling either. I think you're still allowed to be bummed about it. Um, I think it's important to remember that if you do other conventions, there will always be next year, there will be another con. Um, but I do think it's important to acknowledge those feelings and to validate them, and to kind of work through them.
That's some really sound advice. Now I want to talk about your guys' personal experiences with con blues. Ree, what's been some of your own experiences with the post con blues? God damn, I'm having a hard time with that word today.
I thought you were gonna write that on your hand.
I
Staple a note to your forehead.
I
Yeah,
got
here you go, get a Sharpie.
I have this thing, but it's not worth it. But yeah, no, what's been your experience with the post con blues personally?
Ooh. I think probably what's going on right now is that at the beginning of this year, it's just been like convention after convention.
Oh yeah,
So
you and your
like,
sister have been like going to con after con lately this
yeah,
year.
it's been crazy. I think it was, I want to say first one was, yeah, SAC Anime Winter, which was first weekend of January, I believe. Then after that, we actually traveled like to our furthest convention, which was a new one called Anime Gaming Expo. That was
Oh,
down in Fresno.
I've heard of that one. I saw that one.
No, it was a lot of fun, and it was the furthest that we've traveled for a convention. So it's like, it's not as big as SAC Anime, but it's not as small as like, let me think, like Sacramento Comic Con.
And
It's
it's
like a happy medium. So that one was a lot of fun. Anyway, So we did those two. Then we went to, I believe, yeah, SAC Comic Con was the next one that we went to. So kind of what's been happening is that we go to all these conventions like at the beginning of the year, and then we have like a bunch of downtime of like conventions that we don't go to because it's either, there's nothing going on, or it's like we're burnt out or too busy with like jobs, schools, all that kind of stuff. So that's mainly where kind of like my post-con depression comes from, is going to all these conventions and then just having a whole bunch of downtime of just
You
not doing anything
you okay,
until
Bob?
I think.
Uh, clinically, I just had a little spittle go down the wrong
Okay,
pipe.
I saw you coughing. I was concerned.
Yeah,
Oh
it's just,
yeah,
if
I've
I
been there
fall, if I
before.
cough and then fall over, then be concerned.
Okay, I just don't, it's just, I'm just concerned about the guest on here. But
Yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah, my age is good to check up on me.
Oh no, and I mean any age. Back to you, Reese. I just can imagine like how like all the cons that you and your sister did like in these first 3 months, like just in general, anyone. I mean, we like see all the videos and TikToks and pictures of people going to all these cons yearly, but like you said, we don't know how these people actually feel afterwards. Like,
Mhm.
especially
And
ones. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it depends on what they're doing too, because sometimes, people aren't doing like the whole cosplaying thing when going to these conventions. They just go to visit and then go to the panel. But like for me, it's like, cosplaying, panels, meeting special guests,
Mhm.
sometimes hosting cosplay meetups and just having to just, sort through everything. That's
Yeah.
why I typically have a checklist like for SAC Anime, because there's so much stuff going
Oh
on.
yeah, there's a lot
But
of sack anime.
no, yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's even more stuff at SAC Anime that I don't get to do because there's just so much going on. But yeah, that's mainly where it comes from for me, is just going like to a bunch of conventions like all in a row, like within a week or 3 weeks within each other, and then just having like a month of not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said before, I limit myself to 3 cons, 4 if I'm like if I feel up to it. But going to one con and then like going to the next con, then going to a con like the week or two after or a month after or days after, because I've seen people go to another con like literally days after one
Mhm.
con's over. I'm just like, how and why?
I don't know
Yeah,
how to
there's one
explain.
time where um it fell on like the weekend of Free Comic Book Day, so I actually, went to Free Comic Book Day and then went to another comic convention like the next day. It was more like a swap meet, but it was just
Oh,
like that weekend
jeez.
was packed for like a bunch of different
Props to
reasons.
you and Haley for being able to do that.
I think it's just because we're young, so we have enough energy. I physically do have the endurance because I was a cross country and track runner. So like I can
Oh, props to
walk for like
you.
all 3 of those days, but it's like everyone does need an opportunity to rest, because it's
I'm just
like for as
like
much as I can go, it's like I'm gonna get tired out at some point.
I'd be that one person in somewhere in a convention just on the ground saying, "Go on without me." Um, Kat, what's been your personal experience with post-con blues? Nailed it.
You did it. Proud of you.
Yay!
Yay.
Confetti everywhere.
You did it. God, I'm definitely someone who struggles with clinical depression. I think if I'm remembering the exact diagnosis, the previous psychiatrist that I saw gave me correctly, it was major depressive disorder. I've got that and a slew of other things. It can definitely affect me pretty severely, and it's not a good time. Um, so dealing with that on top of post-con blues, when that down, if you will, when that down spike hits, it hits pretty hard. And it's really, really hard to properly take care of myself. So I really struggle to get out of bed. I struggle to eat. I struggle to find joy really doing anything. I'll just get up, I'll go to work, I'll come home. If I can even really get myself to do that. Honestly, sometimes I call it.
Hey, that's that's totally understandable, and as I always say, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, and it really sucks, and it can be very, very hard to pull yourself out of. Um, and so I guess when I'm in those little black holes, if you will, I find it really helpful. I am lucky enough to be able to see a therapist regularly, so I'll reach out to my therapist, and I will try to squeeze in an extra session with her if I can. Um, I will try to talk with my friends more. If I have local friends, I will try to meet up with them if I have the energy. If I don't, then I will maybe try to start planning for whatever next convention that I'm going to, even if I don't have the energy to maybe work on cosplay or something. I can maybe start thinking about what con I want to go to next, or maybe looking at like hotels or like travel accommodations, because even that gets me like a little bit excited. And I find just doing little things like that can be very helpful. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. I also have a cat. She is, I don't
Yes.
think, yeah, I don't think she's legally considered a service animal.
She'd be more of an
Uh,
emotional support
yeah,
animal.
she's my ESA.
What's her name,
She,
Luna?
yeah, Luna. She's my emotional support
Your
animal.
white, fluffy, chunky baby.
Yeah, she's so chunky, my little baby. Um, so I'll go and I'll harass her. And so I find that can be really helpful. Um, but you know, everybody deals with things a little bit differently. So I sometimes I need to isolate, sometimes I need a little bit of extra friend time. I kind of just need to listen to my body and my mind and see where I'm at.
Oh no, that's the definite thing, and and I've seen a few times you posting saying how you're gonna not go to one con so you can focus on yourself. Which again, I know Bob's gonna point it out. There is nothing wrong
Mm,
with taking time off from a con just to relax and
absolutely.
eventually
Yeah, yeah.
eventually next year I'm gonna start putting little numbers every time I say there's nothing wrong with that, and that's 3 now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll need to make it like a drinking game or
Oh
something.
God.
And admittedly, I do get a lot of anxiety about that. Because I struggle with feeling like, oh my God, I'm letting everybody down because I said I was gonna do this thing and I'm not doing
Hey,
this thing. Oh my God.
last minute changes are perfectly okay.
Yeah,
And we'll dive more into that. I want to go to Keyshawn next.
absolutely.
Keyshawn, what has been your personal experience with post-con blues?
Uh, usually for me, like whenever I do go to a con, it's like mainly I go just to like enjoy the experience, have a good time, like wander around the merchant hall to see what all stuff they got. And the years where I actually wanted to plan on doing a cosplay, it's like it really put a lot of pressure on me to like think of, okay, what do I want to dress as? How am I gonna get it all together? And how is that gonna affect my financial status? And well,
Oh yeah, that's the big thing to factor in is your money.
yeah, and this year was no exception because the amount of effort that I actually was invested putting into making my ODST armor, it's like because the process to make the armor is taking too long.
Not to mention the money you've had to put into getting that made, I
Actually,
imagine.
very little money because the sheets of foam that I have were from my friend.
EVA foam?
Yeah,
And I'm sure we can all agree here, EVA foam is a cosplayer's best friend.
Mhm.
And worst nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure. I've heard the stories plenty times on here.
I haven't worked with EVA foam yet, but I've still have my Honda Onaka on the horizon.
Nice. But yeah,
But yeah,
back.
one thing I could say about EVA foam is that depending on what it is you want to build, you really have to consider like which type of EVA foam, because there's half-inch thick,
Mhm.
3/4 inch thick, etc. So
Yeah, back
Right.
to the
There's
question.
also craft foam, high density. There's a couple different types, so you definitely want to consider your options.
yeah, and speaking of craft foam, that was actually the type of foam that I used. Sorry, like that was actually the type of foam that I was actually using to make the knives for my Daryl Dixon cosplay.
Can't wait to see that. But yeah, back to the question about your experience with post-con blues.
Hmm. But yeah, I would say essentially for me, my experience is if I go to have fun, that's all that matters. And then once the con is over, it's like I can always look at it as, well, looking at the things that I didn't get to do this year, it's like it gives me room to look forward to doing it next year, or at least trying to. And then like this year, because I'm not going because I was working on a cosplay, it's like, well, I'll at least have that ready by then, if not for KimuraCon later in the year.
Ooh, I can't wait to see you guys at KimuraCon this year.
I know. I'm so excited to see everyone.
I know, right?
It'll be nice. Now last but not least, Bob, what has been your experience, your personal experience with the post-con blues?
Um, what's kind of hitting me currently a little harder than it generally has in the past, because there's been a lot of things that have been just suspended and not active that I had to rely on a year ago. My church has suspended service because we're between buildings and between pastors. Um, Corvallis bus system has suspended weekend and evening service.
Oh no.
So I'm not able to go to
Jeez.
do community theater, which is kind of my in-between project most of the time. In fact, I
Mhm.
haven't been even in an on-stage play since the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it's been that
Oh,
long.
wow.
Because
Yeah, so
Mhm.
the on the solo interview, the thumbnail you used was a theater picture, not a cosplay picture. It's from when I was in Picasso's
Mhm.
Le Panogil. Um,
Oh, wow.
um, for those who know the play, I played Gaston. Um, and then the person who's been my biggest support, both in getting me transportation around and in my playwriting, just informed me that she's moving out of state.
Oh,
And
no.
so the plays that I've been writing, I'm having to shop around elsewhere with other people. She's going to help me with that, but still, I have this musical that I've finished, and another really insane comedy that people would be interested in, I think. But so a lot of the stuff has been just kind of yanked out from under me just recently. Plus, I also found out from my trust manager, because all of my convention appearances, at least the lodging, is paid for out of a trust that my adoptive mother left. I didn't have enough money. I'm almost to the annual budget already, and so I had to cancel going to Chicago TARDIS in November.
yeah, I remember you telling me that from the ECC
On the
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so
so
sorry.
that one I've I'm still working. I'm still pulling together the 2 additional Doctor Who cosplays that I was planning for that. I have a couple of items for the War Doctor coming this week, and the Rule 63 Perry Brown will be pretty easy to bring together. But um, just usually I've been able to just kind of come back and get working and dive myself into writing or dive myself into something. Plus, it, even some of my cosplaying work has been stopped because my 3D printer I haven't been able to get to work since June.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
And
never fun when your main cosplay building source is just like out of commission.
yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I use that for my for accessories, but it's going to kind of be I'm needing for the centerpiece of the big one that's going to be my first real contest worthy piece.
Ooh, you're entering your first
my
contest?
Where are you entering?
I'm looking at it. I can think I can put a link to it in the chat to the the sample piece that I'm using. A fellow on Instagram did it, but it was on Marvel's What If. Zombie hunter Scott Lang.
Ooh.
Oh, the his helmet.
The head in the jar,
Mhm.
being carried around by the cloak of levitation.
Oh, I remember you telling me. I remember you telling me about that.
And so all I have to, it's like make a cloak of levitation as a sort of a caftan or whatever, and then put the head in the jar and, get around on roller sneakers or something. And
that is that's
excuse me.
gonna be really cool to
So,
see.
but the base for the head in the jar I would have to 3D print, and of course my device is not working, and I've bought 2 replacement extruders, and both of them have kind of petered out, and like I said, my trust is close out of funds, so it's going to be a bit before I would be able to get a replacement.
So next, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that leaves me. So yeah, I'm still working on the musical, by the way. So
At least you're
I'm so
trying to.
excited. I love musicals.
yeah,
Oh yeah, no.
it's a different musical, and it's something I can discuss with y'all after we're done recording.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So back to you, Ree. So another question I asked, which I asked in the previous version of this. What goes through your mind when you're preparing for your next con, whether it's weeks away or months away? Like what runs through your mind?
I mean, a lot of the planning runs through my mind, like what cosplays am I gonna bring, who's gonna be there, what's going on, and sort of, making a checklist for that. But then depending on, what's going on is kind of like the panic of, oh no, is my cosplay gonna be ready in time for the convention? That's kind of like going through my head of like, I know for when I went to Stockton Con winter, I was having all sorts of issues with my cosplay, either arriving on time or arriving correctly. It was my Gogeta cosplay from Dragon Ball Z.
And I saw that. If anyone gets a chance, be sure to check that out on their Instagram. I love the padded muscle you have for that one.
Oh yeah, so
The muscles.
that's what happened for Stockton Con, was that muscle suit did not arrive in time for it.
Oh
And
no.
the rest of the cosplay too, like I was worried about it not coming in time. And it wasn't like it was a last minute thing. This stuff I ordered like more than a month in advance. And, it was telling me the dates of when it was going to arrive. So I'm like, okay, now we're really cutting it close here. And then my wig came in and it was the wrong wig. So I had to.
Is that the muscle?
So that's the muscle suit that was supposed to go with the Gogeta, because I got it because I can use it for like other
Wow.
cosplays. But that was supposed to arrive in time for Stockton Con, and it did not. But
here's the other. If I show the other muscle one you did for your Broly,
yeah,
there's their other muscle.
Whoa.
Broly.
Man, like I can't imagine the fear of not only, like you said, not because there are times, and I've seen it many times, where people had to leave their house and just like, you know what, I'm gonna mail it to the hotel and pray that it gets there.
Mhm.
And I'm sure with you, you've had to do that quite a few times, and whether it's getting it mailed on time or even making sure it gets to the hotel and you have time to get it set up for conquest.
I've never actually like had to mail it to like a hotel, because usually, it'll usually either come in time, like just barely on time, or I'll have like some sort of backup. So it's like, it's kind of thinking about like, do I have a backup for this cosplay if it isn't going to work out? And like for my Gogeta, I was still able to wear it just without the muscle suit. I just wore like a black shirt with it, and it
Yeah,
still
I
worked.
saw your picture when you were also cosplaying as Vegeta, I believe, in one of your other
Mhm.
pictures. With your permission, if I could show that picture.
Yeah, go ahead. You show
Okay.
anything. It's all on Instagram. It's all public.
Okay,
So
I just wanted just to clarify before
Yeah, for
that's why
sure.
I asked permission.
Yeah.
Kat, have you ever what goes to your mind when you're preparing for your next con, whether it's weeks away, months away, or even hell, a year away? Like in reality, you know it's a ways away, but in your brain it's like, I don't think so.
Oh, absolutely. I can't talk. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Quick disclaimer, Luna is in here with me, so if you hear shuffling around or me like trying to discipline her,
And what is my rule
naughty.
about that?
Yeah, she kept trying to take my pop filter off of my microphone. I felt so bad. So if you heard like crunching noises, I apologize.
Yeah, Ree, you may not know my rule about that is if you get a cat, a dog, or a baby within 25 feet of a microphone, there will be an interruption.
Oh yeah, or
Oh
they'll
my
make,
gosh,
or
yeah.
they'll make a little cameo if you have a webcam.
Yeah.
Which I
Oh my
always do,
gosh.
which I always don't mind people showing off their pets in these podcasts. But yeah, Kat,
Yeah.
continue. Like I said, what goes to your mind when you're preparing for that next con?
Yeah, I'm a chronic planner. I like to plan minimum 6 months in advance, but I like to try to plan a year out if I can. So I have pretty much all of my cons for this year planned. So like everything that I have, unless something catastrophic happens, is pretty much set in stone. I just need to like finish like purchasing flights and getting hotels booked and things like that. Ma'am, absolutely not. Thank you. Sorry. Um, so I find that for me, can be very helpful in easing my anxiety, and my depression. Um, and that just really lessens my stress knowing that I have those things in place well in advance. So I like to try to book things well ahead of time if I can. I think the only exception is sometimes hotels, because sometimes if cons have like, oh, a group rate or something, I'll try to get in on that, unless it's something where it just goes stupidly fast and it's really hard to get, then I'm like, okay, I'll get like a backup in case I can't get that. Um, but I always try to book like my flights and things like that, like super far in advance so I can get a good deal. And I try to budget really far in advance. As far as cosplays go, I like to try to get a rough idea of what I want to do at the beginning of the year, and I kind of start to gather materials with all like the holiday sales. Um, and I find that to be very helpful. Um, and even if plans do end up changing, I at least have those materials for the future, or if I end up deciding, yes, I hear you, you can wait a minute. Um, or if I end up deciding that I want to do something else spur of the moment, I can usually kind of pivot a little bit. Um, but it really depends on what it is, but I definitely try to budget pretty far in advance. Because I only have so much money. I love my job, but I definitely am not making six figures. But yeah, I'm a planner, I'm a budgeter, and I find that to be very helpful for managing depression and anxiety and stress and all of that good stuff. And I also, need to put aside money to make sure that I can feed my very naughty cat. Yeah,
Hey, if it works, it works.
absolutely.
Um, Keyshawn, same question. What goes through your mind when you're planning for your next convention right after, again, like I said, whether it's weeks, months, years, days later?
Well, in the past, I would never think twice about planning ahead because it's like Yeah, I lived the experience this year and I was able to enjoy it. Thinking ahead to next year, it's like, well, pre-registration's always on the tip of the brain because usually it's cheaper to get your badge then. But definitely this year, though, I do have at least an aim to which making up for not going to SOC this year, I can at least have that mindset ready for Kumo. And hopefully I'll have the finances to do it also.
Definitely pre-reg if you can.
Oh yeah, no. And right after Bob, I'll be asking another question. Um, Bob, same question. What goes to your mind when you're planning for your next con?
Well, I think about partially the weather, because I don't want to. You're not going to get me to go outside in a really light outfit. Um, like like Jedi Elvis or the Evil Midnight Bomber Wet Bombs at Midnight. No, I'm not going outside like that. And at the same time, I'm so subject to dehydration. I don't want to be bundled up too much in warm weather. Or if I do, I want to be able to plan around it and get lots of extra fluid. So the weather is one thing I think about. I also think about what the general environment is going to be, who I'm likely to meet. Will I have is there a cosplay that will be appropriate to one of the special guests? And I also think about my facial hair. I think I have my soul stash here that's kind of regrowing out now from Emerald City, and I think, okay, well, day one, what can I like? Well, for example, I'm dedicated to keeping this through both days of Mid Valley Comic Arts Expo. So day one I can do Men in Black, and day two I can do Zoot.
That's very true. I do like the fact that you dyed your soul patch and mustache for the Muppet Zoot.
Yeah,
That
so
was so
I
funny.
figured that would be an appropriate thing to do. And then for Rose City, growing out my the beard a bit, like John Hurt for the War Doctor on Friday, and then Saturday do some stuff, do some a series of cosplays that I can wear the Soul Stash, got the Men in Black, Doctor Midnight, and then Marvel's Amphibian, where I'm going to do the same thing with the Soul Stash,
Ooh, very nice.
and then go clean shaved on Sunday for Jedi Elvis.
Can't wait to see that.
So I think in that terms, and then of course I have to think about the size of everything I am bringing along. One of the reasons I like, um, yes, it's my number two reason out of three for really preferring warm weather conventions in warmer weather than cold weather, is that the ones that I wear in warmer weather take up less space, and so I can bring more of them or fit them into smaller luggage. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to fit all of that into. Uh, I have two suitcases about the size of my torso that I lugged things to Seattle for Emerald City this year, and I have yet to see how well I'm going to be able to do that with the ones I just described involve at least 3 wigs.
Oh,
And then there's all the clothing that goes with it, and um, you just kind of see how that goes, because some of those, like the War Doctor, that's going to be quite a bit to go in by the time you fit in all the the coat and the vest and the
oh,
shirt.
yeah. No,
'Cause,
you got me. You got me thinking about how I'm gonna fit my regular clothes and my outfits for Kamoricon this year because I have
well,
quite a few.
regular
Luckily,
clothes is easy. I just got back from a trip for a concert, and everything I carried with me except my computer, I fit in my backpack,
nice.
and so I
Rolling
can do
things up
that.
can really help, or putting things in garment bags
I
is
don't
Yeah.
very
know.
nice if you're able
I would
to.
like it. I
So
would like.
we can talk another time about
Oh yeah, yeah,
packing for it, but
yeah.
I got to
No.
think about, but I think about all of those things and how well everything's going to fit together, and try and plan these things out.
Oh yeah, no. That's something to think about for sure. Next question, and it's a question I kind of briefly asked in the previous version of this when after I all together. Back with you, Ree. What are some things you can do to prepare yourself a day before con? Whether a convention has a day zero or you just got into town the day before con. Like, what are some things you can do to get the nerves, just in case someone is like nervous or anxious or the anxiety kicks in the day before con?
One thing is definitely making sure that you have all your ducks in a row. So making sure that your cosplay is ready, making sure that you know what you're going to do for the day, that kind of thing. And then it's also just, taking a breath and just relaxing, and I don't want to say like ignoring it, but not worrying about it until, the next day of the convention. Because if you have everything in order, then it's kind of just like, okay, we're going to relax and we're going to mentally prepare ourselves for this convention. Just taking a moment to stop and think about it and just be like, okay, I should be ready for this. Because it's okay for you to be nervous, but you can't let that control you. You can't let that take over you when you're preparing like for a convention.
Because then next thing you know, your first day is just gonna be a jumbled mess.
And it's like you have to remember to have fun. You can't be worried the whole time, or else it's not going to be fun. Why do you go to the conventions? To have fun.
Oh, exactly. Kat, same question. What can you do to prepare yourself for your first day of con? When anxiety kicks in and all that stuff. What's some advice? What are some things you personally do to prepare yourself for day one of a con before?
I like to try to prep everything the night before, and I like to always have a plan B and a plan C. As someone who is a very anxious individual and thrives on routine and plan. So
I just got. Can I show a picture of the picture?
yeah, absolutely.
So
You can show her being dramatic.
This is Kat's cat during while she's recording for the podcast. Just look at all that drama.
He was being such a brat.
At
Like,
me.
Mim.
Man.
Oh, and here's the other one.
Yeah, that's the one I love.
Nobody loves me.
But no, seriously, same question. What do you do to prepare the day before con, like when anxiety and everything kicks in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I like to lay out what I'm gonna wear the night before, which might be excessive for some, but for me, I'm like, it's one less thing that I've got to worry about.
Especially if you have like a big cosplay too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I like to lay out what I'm gonna wear. I like to do my skincare. If I'm wearing makeup, I like to lay all that out. If I have to do any sort of traveling that day, I make sure I've got all that in order. If I have like any sort of badge stuff I need to do, I get that taken care of. I like to take a look around the area, just to kind of get familiar with my surroundings. Um, I I like to know if there's an emergency where I can go for any sort of emergencies, um, things like that. Um, and I also like to have like emergency contacts on me, things like that. I like to kind of keep like a short list of like good food places, maybe like just little things saved on like Google Maps or something. Um, and I like to keep like a short list of maybe some fun activities that I might want to do throughout the day. Um, and I kind of keep those kind of fast and loose. So if I'm not able to make it to it, it's no big deal. But it's like, okay, if I have some time, let me like pull this up and be like, oh, okay, sure, let me go do this thing. Um, yeah. And I find that to be very helpful, very useful. And I also kind of like to try to keep like maybe some fun like topics on hand if I want to like approach people and maybe talk to people. So if I'm waiting in line for something and want to talk and start up a conversation with somebody, um, I might ask them like what series that they're currently into, or ask them how their con is going, or if they have any recommendations for like some good panels to catch or like some cool places to go out for dinner that night or things like that. Um, yeah, I find that to be super, super helpful. Um, and worst case scenario, I do not recommend this for everyone. Only do this if you have a doctor's prescription. Worst case scenario, I take a Valium, but only do this if you have a doctor's prescription. I do. If you do not, don't do that.
I mean, there is
Be
an
smart.
there is an alternative, and it was said in the last part where one of the best things you can do is gather a group of friends and go out and drink the night before.
That's
Have a good
very
time.
true.
Have a good time.
Yeah,
Don't
but
get
you do
don't
need
get
to
don't
consider if you're prone to hangovers, though. So be cautious.
don't get too shit faced. No one wants to see Sailor Moon
Yes.
stumbling. No one wants to see someone in a Sailor Moon cosplay stumbling and slurring their speech at a con.
At least not showing the speech. If you're stumbling, it's
Mhm.
probably just being in character.
um, Keyshawn, what are some things you usually do to mentally prepare yourself for day one of a con?
Some of the things that I do is I try to assess everything that I'm wanting to do. So like, okay, so I know the panels I want to go see. I know what I want to do the second I get there on the first day, and I know even day zero going to go pick up my badge. I want to try to get there early. But yeah,
Oh, I heard how day zero was for KomoriCon last year. Kat and Chris told me.
were they camping outside?
Oh.
No, that it was a jumbled mess from what I heard.
Hmm.
No, no, I'm not disrespecting the
Not as
con.
bad as Friday, though.
Oh no, I heard Friday was again. We're not disrespecting KomoriCon.
We love you, Komori-kan.
It just when cons are going back to semi-normal with after COVID, it can be a bit crazy.
Mhm.
But as you were saying,
But yeah, basically what I do is just try to take stock of like what I want to do the day of, the day prior, and make sure I have like my agenda like set. And when it comes to like all the extra stuff, worrying about like having a hotel, having a cosplay, stuff like that, I try to take account of, okay, so I have to check in the hotel at on this day, so that way I'll have that ready. And then if I have a cosplay, decide if I want to spend the day dressed up, walking around, taking pictures, or if I want to pretty much run around, enjoy myself first, and then dress up later. But yeah, pretty much I just try to do things on the fly.
hey, if it works, it works. It's all your guys' way to prepare for a day. Well, now Bob, what are some things you do to mentally prepare yourself for the first day of con, Bob?
Um, well, the day before is generally travel day. The day before that is like Reese says, that's my day to get all my ducks in a row. I call it my duck day.
Hashtag Duck
Yeah,
Day.
yeah, and yeah, of course. When I can't get myself going until after 12, it's duck day afternoon. But
DuckTales. Ooh. Sorry, I had
you can,
to.
yeah, throw up the hashtag bad pun no cookie on the screen there. But that is the day where I pack up all my cosplays and I go through one by one and make sure those are all in place. I have my pill minder all filled for the weekend, and everything is in my toiletry bag that is going to be, not going to be needed overnight. And I have my extra changes of clothes in the in my backpack, and other things are all kind of arranged so that on travel day, all I need to do is put um, the rest of my toiletries in the bag and my robe and pajamas, and I'm good to go.
Hey,
Then before that, before Duck Day, I have about a week where I can use the online schedule or the cons app to figure out what panels I want to go to and how the whole day is going to be arranged. If it's a con I haven't been to before, get familiar with the nearby eateries and other things that I can do on Sunday afternoon, and um, um, how the local transit system works. I'm pretty familiar with TriMet in Portland, but I still haven't even given a try to the Seattle area transit system.
hey, that's not a bad preparation day.
Yeah,
Like,
so I keep things planned ahead because when things go with my brain, my particular um my particular range of the autism spectrum, if things get suddenly switched around, it really gets
ooh.
me screwed up.
No,
So
we kind of talked about that in the autism and cosplay podcast panel a
yeah,
while back.
yeah, we did. And it's kind of like you mentioned before about things, not working out. And as I mentioned when we did the recap for Fan Expo, I missed out seeing Christopher Lloyd. And I don't know if I'm going to have that same out that Reed did, because as far as, he'll be back again. Maybe he will, but he's 84. Maybe he won't.
Oh yeah, no, it's
So, yeah, and he was the reason I went to that convention. So, that was intensely frustrating.
oh, I imagine it
But
was.
that, yeah, I like to just kind of make sure that I have things as planned ahead as I can. If I know that things are going to be in flux, well, my brain's ready for that. I know I'm going to make a decision between these two panels, depending on how I'm feeling, what else is going on. Okay, fine. Um, and just kind of get myself all geared up for um, mentally and physically prepared, because my memory is like a steel sieve, and I'm going to forget something if I don't keep close tabs on everything and go through every single item in each of my cosplays and go through the pecking list on my phone and everything else.
Hey, that works. And speaking of, back to you, Reed, before I ask the last question for everyone. What are some of your coping mechanisms for the post-con blues? Like stuff you keep
I
yourself
think,
distracted and everything.
yeah, I think one of the things, at least what I can think of as like a coping mechanism, is that for the conventions, because you take all the pictures and stuff, either do like photo shoots and stuff like that.
That
I don't typically post my stuff like right after the convention, because it's like you have those couple of days to just debrief. So being able to go back and, edit those photos and share them, and then seeing like the comments and stuff on your post kind of brings you out of that post-con depression, because it's, basically reminiscing on the con that you just went to, and sort of like thinking about the next one as well, making like your cosplay announcement for the next convention. That can also pull you out of
those are always
the blues
fun.
as well. But I think that's one of my main things that kind of makes me feel less sad about it.
Yeah, the photography one from the last one, that seems to be the top one is just it's a picture posting, taking pictures. Kat, same question. What are some of your coping mechanisms for post-con blues?
Well, I definitely like to take a day or two to just breathe and compress, because I'm usually like dead to the world for at least a good day or two. Like, nobody talk to me. I'm so overstimulated. Um, but usually after that, I like to try to just really take some nice time for self-care. So I will maybe watch some of my favorite shows, or I'll make like a nice comforting meal, or if I don't have the energy to do that, maybe I'll order some takeout. If I have like some spare cash. Maybe I'll run a nice bath, or just something nice for myself. Because it could be kind of hard to like do that sometimes. Um, I find that to be incredibly helpful and very, very nice. And, of course, you're sore and tired after con, so it's a good way to really nourish yourself and fill your cup. Um, yeah. And so I find like another good way is maybe things you were recommended to read or watch or listen to during the con, you can put those on, and that can be a nice little distraction. Um, So that could be super fun. Or sometimes I will get to work on my next cosplay, or I will start thinking about my next con and I'll start planning my lineup or things like that. Um, or I'll even just start planning for my next convention, or I'll reach out to friends and I will chat with them. Sometimes I'll try to plan cosplay groups. Um, yeah, I kind of just check in with myself and I see what I need. Do I need more downtime? Am I feeling creative? Do I want to work on something? Um, yeah, it's really just important to check in with yourself and see what you need in that moment and really listen to your body. Because if you don't, you're gonna get burnt out and you're gonna have a bad time. So, yeah, be kind to yourself. Don't be me and do stupid shit and be like, I'm having a bad time. Let me just go and be a hermit for months on end, and nobody can get a hold of me.
Just in a giant blanket burrito with a cup of wine or coffee or tea, just like with a sign on that says "Do not disturb." I'm in rest mode.
Oh, literally me. Yeah. No talk me.
Kishan, what are some of your coping mechanisms for post-con blues?
Well, I guess my main coping mechanism for anything is just playing games, really. But for con specifically, I think one of the best things I like to do is when I'm at the con taking pictures, I'll go through some of them and I'll actually archive them and try to make a folder to post on Facebook, like share my whole con experience and maybe tag some people here and there too. So yeah, just kind of reminisce and the good times.
Hey, that's always the best thing to do. Bob, last but not least, what are some of your coping mechanisms for the con blues?
Well, my default escape mechanism is watching television. So I've been fortunate on this one that a lot of the network shows that subsequently stream are in their right in the middle of their seasons. And then there's a few streaming shows that I like that have dropped new seasons or new episodes that they've been going along. I like to watch all of the Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel shows, um, the Arrowverse shows, a few anime that I enjoy getting into,
Nice.
and there's a few others as well, like Fantasy Island and The Good Doctor. Um, and I also get into, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, my writing, especially since most of what I write is comedy, very, very wild, strange comedy. I also do, and it's also helpful to kind of get on and continue my connections doing these podcasts with you, Wayne. So, and then just for if I have a moment when I have when I just have a kind of a stressful day or whatever, over in my corner between my closet in this room, between my closet and my bookcase, I have all of my long props standing up that go with my cosplays, Elvis's lightsaber and Harpo's horn and all that. The two other items that are long, one is a yardstick that I just have in here because that's the only place that it can fit. And the other is this little sink plunger that it has never touched a sink. It has never touched anything, but you see, it has the suction cup at the end, and any place I put a suction cup, it's not going to last except for one location, and it'll stay right up there.
See, the one thing I love about this series is there's always humor.
Yeah, so this is it's like I just sticking myself into some kind of doing that completely silly thing, and
just to let anyone know, this is not scripted, by the way.
no, but none of these guys.
Bob literally just put a plunger on his head just because he wanted to, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't even know I was going to do that until we were like halfway through this and started mentioning coping mechanisms, and that's what I went up and fetched a little bit ago. But just doing something absolutely ridiculously silly, and if you go through what my cosplays have been to date, you have a pretty good idea that that's kind of where my brain lives. But I have a residence in left field.
I love it. So last but not least, it's a question I asked at the end of the last one. Again with you, Ree. Advice for those who may be going through the post-con blues for the first time and don't know what to do.
Well, obviously watch the podcast for advice because there's a lot of good suggestions and whatnot. But as you can see too, there's a lot of different things that you can do in order to avoid those post-con depression or the post-con blues. So it was kind of like, listen to your body, listen to your mind, and you just do what you need to do to take care of yourself, whatever that may be, whether it be comedy, whether it be debriefing, just, if you're going through it for the first time, look up advice. Obviously, if you're, if you're seriously going through something, you go seek the proper help. But, just you do what you got to do. It's unique to everyone.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's some good advice. And I definitely highly recommend, if watching this or any other, cosplay related podcast on other, wherever they may be available. Kat, same question, advice for those who, are experiencing the post-con blues for the first time.
Oh my God, I'm sorry if you hear the cats.
Yeah, kiss my papa.
Exactly. They really want to be involved, I guess. So I'm sorry if you hear them screaming. Yeah, it can be difficult to go through the first time for sure. Hi, Bing. Hi, Bingus. Hi. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I got distracted. Yeah, it can definitely be pretty difficult to go through the first time. Especially if you don't really know what to expect or have like a good, strong support network. I kind of want to echo what Rhiannon said. And definitely listen to this podcast. What a shameless plug.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Smash that like button.
Don't actually smash it, then your computer will break.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't condone violence to the technology.
Unless it provokes
general,
us.
anyways.
Unless I'm provoked or Skynet somehow takes over, or we get a meteor and it becomes
exactly.
and we need to get Emilio Estevez involved. If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know.
Yeah, the great intelligence takes over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
continue.
Mm-hmm.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, definitely just listen to yourself. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your family. Just really listen to your body and what you need at that time. And just try your best within your means to provide what you need for yourself. Excuse you. No, no. You cannot. Stop it. I know.
But ma'am.
But me. Well, come here. Since you're saying so much, do you want to come say hi? She goes, no. Okay,
Like,
bye.
no, you put me on the spot. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Abort.
No,
Abort.
no, I shy.
Yeah, dogs
Um,
come when called, cats come when interested.
Pretty
exactly.
much.
Um, yeah. Um, just try your best. Definitely take time for yourself. And if you think that if it's more than just post-con blues, then definitely reach out and try to get professional help. Um, it can be a little intimidating, but there are a lot of resources out there. There are some that are free, there are sliding scale. Um, there are all sorts of things out there. It is much better to try to reach out than to not do anything at all. So I definitely encourage you to seek professional help if you are really, really struggling. Can't fucking talk.
Hey,
If you
that's
are
your one F
struggling,
word,
it
cat.
was my one.
That's
It was
your
my
one.
one. I did my one. Yeah, but if you're really struggling, I definitely recommend reaching out and trying to get professional help. There's a lot of great resources out there. I can try to compile a list and I can send it to you if you would like, Wayne.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. If you have a
Yeah.
link, let me know so I can put it in the description below.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, be smart, be safe, have fun. Yeah.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Kishan, same question. Advice for those who may be experiencing the post-con blues for the first time.
I think all I can say is don't feel bad. It may have come and gone, but look at the bright side. There's always more to experience down the road.
They I can't argue with that at all. And last but not least, Bob, advice for those who may be going through the post-con blues for the first time after their first convention.
Well, it's kind of useless to advise people to listen to this podcast because the people who are hearing this have already done that. But you might try listening to the first one. That could probably do something. The what I find the best is to find any avenue possible to share all the cool stuff that had it at that convention. Whether it's through I got to do some of that with some of these convention recap episodes that we've done. I post the new cosplay pictures that I get from I'm going to say the word again, Triple Click.
Mm.
We love those guys.
Oh yes, we do. He is they're the best.
I'll tell the stories to whatever friends happened along, and if you ask how was the convention, I will tell you about all the people that I got good reactions to, or cool people that I met. Be sure you make the online connections with cool people you meet. Spend time around your non-con friends. I don't have as many right now, so I'm not able to do that. But I have in the past for previous convention seasons. Get into other things. Start doing other things that you enjoy between doing this con and the next con. Find something else that you can enjoy doing, and if all else fails, just go ahead and stick a plunger on your forehead.
Yeah. Yes. So last but not least, before we end this, all together now. Ree, would you like to promote yourself by letting people know where they can find you on social media?
Main place to find me is gonna be Respect, so that's RHI _SPECT on Instagram. You can find like a link in the description to all my other social medias, but it's also same thing on TikTok as well. Those are my main two.
And Kat, where can they find you and Miss Luna to follow you guys?
Hello. Yeah, of course. So Luna does have her own Instagram that I need to update. But I'll give you mine, I guess. I'm not as cool though. Um, but my Instagram and my TikTok are both Cat Valentine Cosplay, and my Twitter is Cat Valentine Cos.
Links to the description below to see more cosplays of that and of also of Miss Luna.
Absolutely.
Keyshawn, where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you?
So my main Instagram is mocha.est.1993. And I do have a YouTube called Mocha93.
I'll be sure to follow. Oh, I think I do follow you on YouTube already, but I'll double check if I have it or not.
Yeah, I followed you on that account as well as my main just YouTube browsing account. So
And if you want to, be sure to check out Mocha's very first appearance on the channel when we covered Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
actually, my first appearance was to get to know that cosplayer. The
Oh,
second
right.
time.
Oh, right. That's yeah. You came on for the official. Was it worth? It's been so long. Okay, don't judge me.
I'm not judging.
You're silently judging.
I'm just informing the mass and the audiences what I've been doing and what you've been up to.
Very true. And last but not least, Bob, would you like to let people know where they can find you on social media in case they want to follow you?
Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter, it's all Bob Greenwade.
Link in the description below. And of course, I do want to thank the previous guests that came on. Again, I want to thank Emerald, Imogen, and Becca, who were on for the first part. And now this is the end. And now I can actually officially say this. Once again, I am Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for watching.
Hi, everyone.
I've been waiting in this line for what seems like days. Everyone else here has come from so far.